Welcome, everybody, to another edition of BTS Live. That stands for Behind the Scenes Live. I am Martin McPadden, and as always, I have my partner in this endeavor, Mark Rogers. Hey, Mark, how are you?
I'm doing just fine, and as I learn each and every week before we come on, I'm just trying to keep track and keep up with you pushing the envelope every week. So Marty pushes the envelope, and I'm just trying to keep up.
Hey,
and I'm not keeping up, so I'm trying to keep about 10 steps behind and try to make my way at some point. So I think there's much more to learn as you continue to iterate, my friend.
Absolutely. I just realized I had my, for those of you technical out there, I had my gate turned way too high, so hopefully you heard that first part of it, but I fixed it now. Yeah, there's so much going on here. It's crazy. And a little different today, Mark. We usually go to Blab, and I actually scheduled something. It's funny because when I was scheduling the show today, I don't even bother scheduling it ahead of time. I scheduled a show today, and it was crazy. I tried to schedule. It looked like it went through, and no show. No show on my profile, no show on the schedule tab, nothing. And I know you've had problems like that in the past, with your shows. But it's like then I had to go in there. I thought, I don't want a double show. So I go, it's not here. So I went in there, scheduled it again, wait for it all, cycle through, X'd out of it, went to the schedule. First of all, I went to my profile, nothing. Went to the schedule tab. Now there's 2 shows there. So now you wonder, folks, why I'm not on Blab right now, because I'm kind of frustrated with the whole thing. Obviously, profiles are broken. Everything's broken, Stephen. You're absolutely right. Stephen Haley in the chat says, profiles broken, impossible to schedule. Yeah, I had to do it twice and then end up with 2 shows. And then I had to go in and get rid of at least one of them. But then I scheduled the show mostly for one reason. We have a good community over on Blab. That's how we started. And I found a way, at least we want to at least make people aware of what was going on there. And I made this little video bumper to let people know, come over to btslive.com. And the reason for that is we loved having the chat, and I'm getting better with it. I have it on a different computer over here, and I'm watching it now. And it kind of brings everything into focus on one chat. And I will say, Brad, no Hawaiian shirt today. Stephen Haywood hates Hawaiian shirts, so he's a good friend of the show. So I figured, well, I'll just go with the black polo shirt. You heard about that, right, Mark? The Hawaiian shirt controversy?
Well, I know that you, from time to time during the summer months, like to don a Hawaiian shirt, and I've never criticized. I've never been a hater. I've always just let it go. So apparently you've received some feedback elsewhere.
Yeah, well, you can see the chat room's kind of going a little crazy. It's Tech Buzz Steven saying, thank God that I'm not wearing a Hawaiian shirt today, because I guess I put it out on Snapchat last weekend. We were getting together with some family, celebrating my mom's birthday. And I Snapchat it. So I have a small group of people there I follow. And of course, Stephen Haywood sees it, and he makes all kinds of comments. You can't believe I had this Hawaiian shirt on. So anyways, yeah, no Hawaiian shirt in honor of Stephen. So what are you going to do, right? Anyways, Mark, let's get into the show here. You can hear me, right?
I've got you.
Okay, yeah. Good. Let's get into the show here. So we're going to talk free video platforms. And again, with Blab the way it is, and my whole scheduling difficulties, I guess is a better word. And I know people are looking for different platforms. Let's go through some of these and see what we got. And the first one I like to cover is Google Hangouts, an old friend. It's been around a long time. Mark, I know you use it for several of your shows. I think when Blab first started, Mark, Google Hangouts was something that people had difficulty with. They were saying, oh, thank God there's something better than Google Hangouts, Can you still hear me, Mark?
Yeah, I still have you. I just have some some gardening going on
Oh, I
outside.
can't
I
hear.
didn't
No,
know
you're
whether that
fine.
was
You're fine.
disturbing anything, and I could barely hear you. But I think we're in the clear now.
Okay.
I think he's moved on.
Anyway, so Google Hangouts, it's been around. It's been around a while. I think since 2011, 2012. And then when Blab came along, everyone dumped Google Hangouts. I don't want to do Google Hangouts. It's too hard. Blah, blah, blah. And Blab is so easy. And now I think Google Hangouts is looking a little better than it has in the past, right? So let's go through some of the benefits of Google Hangouts. One is you can broadcast from your desktop, right? Very easy, webcam, built-in microphone at the very least, just like Blab. And I'll do a lot of these comparisons to Blab. So just like Blab. Number two, it's got the mobile app, and it has been getting better. So you can go mobile through the app and broadcast there as well. I think with Google Hangouts, Mark, I think this would be your experience. A lot of these, the desktop experience is definitely going to be better than the mobile experience. Now, before I get in some of these, I know you use Google Hangouts extensively with a lot of your shows, a lot of your interviews before Blab came along, and even now, even with Blab, because we're kind of shifting back now. So, how's your experience been with it?
I think the only issue I've had with Google Hangouts on a consistent basis at one point, and we talked this through, this has probably been about 2 years ago, that YouTube, in trying to integrate everything with Google and all of that being brought together and all the interfaces and wanting to connect all that, there was a time, and I use this every day. Marty knows that I use Google Hangouts not just every day, sometimes 5 and 6 times a day. I've got 2,000 plus experiences with Google Hangouts, so I'm on it all the time. And there was probably a 6-month period where it was constantly changing. The interface was constantly changing, the applications without warning. And I would be on there 8 hours after I was just on there, and suddenly there would be a button or some type of application that had changed or it wasn't there. And there was a lot of that going on. And this was about 2 years ago. Since then, no issues. And that was really the only issue I've had with it in regards to its reliability from a functional and operational standpoint.
Yeah, and I know they've been going through some iterations. In fact, they recently redid their whole app as far as more of a material. They use what's called material design, flatter design. But yeah, I mean, again, I think this is going to get a second look by a lot of people. Some of the other benefits here are you can have up to 10 people on the screen. Now, whether that's a good idea or not, that's a whole different story, because it can be a little unwielding. You can also have live text chat. It integrates directly with YouTube Live. I think that's a big one because it gets recorded and it also gets broadcast out as on your YouTube Live channel on your YouTube, and it's all already connected to it. So it gets recorded. It also gets recorded to your YouTube. So as you stream, it'll get recorded and be available for replay. The other thing that's really cool with it is if someone joins late, it's kind of a DVR function. You can set that up in the preferences, a DVR function in the video itself. So if someone joins late, they can actually watch earlier video and then catch up to live, or just watch live. And then at the end, it's obviously available for replay. The other thing is you can then download the video for replay, repurposing, or editing. You can download the MP4 file directly from your YouTube account, which is very, very nice. And it's a stable platform. I mean, I know people complained about it, and they went over the Blab and WebRTC and pushed one button. But I think as people saw with these WebRTC platforms, they're not all necessarily all that stable. There's a lot that has to happen. And I think the advantage of Hangouts is a lot of the stuff happens on the back end, where you have the power of Google and all the processing. I do want to point out a comment in the chat. Let's see. Not Alfredo. Durham Skyrider makes a very good point. Studio setting for music. Yes, you can. The audio. That's one complaint with Google Hangouts. It is a little compressed with the audio, but there is a function in Google Hangouts that allows you to switch it, and I think it has less compression, where it's more suited for music. And I tend to use that for voice myself. When I used Google Hangouts, I would use that studio setting, and it tend to have the audio tended to be a little better. So I'm not sure if you're aware of that, Mark. That's something I probably should show you, because it does make your voice sound a little better. It's not as compressed there, you know.
I need all the help I can get.
Yeah, you know, what are you going to do, right? So I think again, the stability's there, you know. I think that's what people forget about, you know. And again, it's connected with YouTube and Google. So when you're doing your shows, especially on the replays, it gets indexed in Google very easily, and your YouTube account. Now, with all that good stuff, there are downsides as well, you know. So I think one of the downsides is it can be a little glitchy for some folks. I think, Mark, you've had experience with that. As far as people coming in, I know I've gotten calls as far as people having trouble connecting their mics or their cameras, and even getting invites to Google Hangouts. I think that it can be a little glitchy at times, right?
And that's what's key there. For me, at one point, explaining the process of finding the video call, connecting to the call for people that are not familiar with the technology, don't do video on a regular basis. I interview college football coaches, and so it's typically not the coach, but it's a sports information director or somebody in the office that doesn't deal with video on a regular basis. And talking them through that process is sometimes a little much, a little complex for them. The thing that has cured that almost completely has been sending the link to the video call. And basically all I've had to explain to people that have no experience with the platform is that just go through it, answer the questions. It's basically going to be terms and conditions, and we'll connect. Here's my number. If you need to contact me, I'll talk you through it. 49 times out of 50, they don't need to contact me. I don't need to talk them through it. They're able to work right through it if they have that link. And that's been almost a complete cure for me.
Oh, that's a great tip. In fact, it's funny you mentioned, because I was going to mention that if you didn't, and I don't know if a lot of people are aware of that. Yeah, just the URL of that video window is probably the best way to get people in there. You know, I've had trouble too sending out invites from the app, and I think it has to do with having a Google account or Gmail. Not everyone has that. And again, if you have Chrome or Firefox, the two, you know, I think Google Hangouts even works on Safari, which is another advantage, frankly, you know. So it really works on any browser, but I think it works best on Chrome. But that URL trick is really important. That's a real easy way, and I've been using that. I use Google Hangouts on a couple different shows I do for clients when I have to bring multiple people in, and it works great. I've never had a problem with that. So that's a great tip.
You know what I think, Marty, drives people crazy is you've got this kind of friends connection. It's like a Facebook or a Twitter follower where you can make them a friend or a close friend or an acquaintance. And when I first worked with this, you had to be connected to that person in some manner. And if you're dealing with Kate Smith, there's a million of them out there, and if they don't clearly identify themselves, and sometimes even if they do, there would be no rhyme or reason to trying to find these people to become friends with them so that they can connect with you, and it was just sometimes very difficult to do. So the link, regardless of their status within Google or not, I've worked with a lot of people that don't have accounts, and the link still works.
Yeah. Oh, exactly. And if you use Chrome, I know that I don't think you need the plugin anymore. I used to need that Google Talk plugin, and that was another little hurdle that you had to go through to try to get on a Hangout, and that, especially if someone that's never been there. But they've eliminated that. So it's actually, I think, for a lot of people that haven't experienced Google Hangouts in a while, I think it merits another look. You know, I mean, again, it's been around since 2011. Someone put it in the chat. I think they're right, 2011. So it's been around a while. It's iterated. It's got the power of Google, and certainly it works. Now, the other downside to it, you know, compared to Blab, is the discoverability. I mean, I think Blab, we talked about that. Blab has kind of nailed it in that area. And, you know, even though the live shows, when you go to Google Hangouts on Air, then it goes to your YouTube Live, it is listed. There is a live tag in YouTube, then you can go to live section and see all the popular shows. And I think they rank them by current viewers. So if you don't have enough to rank, then you're not necessarily going to be seen. So it's a little bit kludgy that way. The old Blab was really good for that. They had that. So I think people are kind of looking for that. But again, it depends. All these platforms that we're going to talk about, the key word here is compromise. They all have a compromise, especially when you're going to rely on, a platform to kind of do it all for you. So I think that's the big thing. I noticed in the chat room, I think Walter mentioned Fire Talk, and it's funny because we'll talk about that. That's one of the ones we're going to talk about. But the next one I want to talk about here, which is an interesting platform. And Mark, I'm not sure if you know about this. This is the homepage for younow.com. And here's what's interesting about this. It's been around. It's actually been around since 2012, which I was shocked to hear that when I first discovered it. I'll start with the downside, and this may not be a downside for everybody, but if you're looking to broadcast, the downside of when you first get on this app, or platform, you'll notice that it's dominated by young kids. I mean, teenagers, young teenagers, early 20s. Probably the demo here is like 13 to 21, the majority of them, and the majority of people on here, right? So that could be a turnoff. I know when I showed it to Stephen Haywood, he said, "Oh, is that kids platform? Oh, why would you want to be on there?" And then I think you see him streaming on there, and there's a good reason why. So instead of concentrating on the downside, and Mark, you might be seeing this for the first time, and I got to show you this in more detail. And this might be, again, something that you may be interested in, kind of putting aside the young clientele. But I think the big thing with this site, and let me go back to the homepage here, is a couple things. One, you can broadcast from your desktop, so you can broadcast from your webcam. In fact, I'm gonna log in here. You can log in via Twitter, Facebook, or Google Plus very easily, or Instagram. So it's very, very easily. And I'm just logging in live here, so hopefully it will go to my account if it's not too slow. But anyways, so you can broadcast from the desktop. Does have a mobile app. You can broadcast from there. In fact, I think a lot of the kids that are on here tend to broadcast from the mobile app. And maybe it's not going to sign in for me. So if it doesn't, that's okay. You can have, now here's the thing, you can have up to 2 people on the screen at one time. That's one downfall. It's not like Blab where you can have 4. You can have 2. So if you're doing a interview, it could be good for that as well. I'm not sure why this is not logging in. So let me go back here. You can have up to 2 people logged in on the screen. It has live text chat as well. And the other big thing for me in all these platforms is, can I stream direct? Can I go RTMP, real-time media protocol? Because I have all this gear, I want to be able to go direct. And you can with you now. You can use your media encoder and go direct. Now, if you do go direct, you won't have the benefit of bringing someone in on a webcam. You'd have to go through your own equipment. And I don't know why this is not coming in. So let me just refresh the page and see if I can do this. But you won't be able to bring someone in when you're doing RTMP, but it allows you to do that, which is good. If you want to go direct, and I think I got it here, so it just needed to refresh there. There we go. So let me go back to the page. So right now we're going to show our friend Stephen Haywood. He comes up, and he is streaming live. So he's a convert. Stephen Haywood is a convert to you now, which is good. But here's what the interface looks like. Now this is Stephen's channel. I am also broadcasting our show on there today, now live. A couple of the other benefits before I get into the interface here is it does do recording, so it will record your stream. It will record your stream whether it's WebRTC, whether you're going in direct with a webcam, or whether you're going RTMP, direct with your own equipment. It'll record both, which I find interesting. The other benefit's high traffic. I'm amazed at the amount of people that drive by here and watch your content. I've had, now let me go to my profile. I'm going to go to my profile here and show you guys the profile page. And you probably can't see it down here where my mouse is, but that number is 39,401 views. Mark, you're startled.
What?
You're obviously
39,000
startled.
views since when?
Since a week ago Saturday. See? There you go. Are you guys surprised? Now, full confession, I am broadcasting there pretty much 24/7. So that helps, right?
So you set up a loop.
I set up a loop. I use Wirecast, and I set up a playlist, and I go direct through my encoder, and that's just one of the destinations I go to, right? So 39,000, almost 40,000 views in, a little over a week.
Sounds like a spot for Mark Rogers TV to be on.
There you go. We'll have to talk offline about this. Absolutely. The other benefit of this, now you can see it's pretty clean. And you can see, this is what I'm showing there is called the moment. So one of the people watching it is Zeltoa 63412 recorded a moment. And people can go in there. Brad recorded a moment. And it gets on the Beauty Bubble recorded a moment. These are little 10-second clips that people can go in there and publish to their profiles as promotion for you. And it also comes to your profile. But it's a pretty clean UI. Okay. A lot going on here. No question about it. You can see on this left-hand side here that these are all the trending users right now. And you'll notice, and you probably can't read these numbers, but I'll read them. The top trending user right now has 647 people watching. The second person has 500. There are many times at night in prime time that there are well over 1,000 people watching multiple streams. You know, and I will say this also. There's a guy on here, Dr. Greg. He's a Methodist minister, and he has a show on here. He routinely gets 1,500 people at a time watching his stream. Now, I'm not sure how long he's been on here, but he'll do it right from his desktop. I think he uses some software to get some text on the screen. He'll have, mainly he's talking to young kids, kind of counseling them, and he'll bring people in one at a time. He's very, very popular, but he's getting 1,500 people. And the reason I bring that up is people that are saying on Blab, you're getting 20 or 30 people. I mean, you know, here are platforms here that you can build, and obviously people are doing something right. Now, these guys are not going 24/7 like myself or like Steven, but that's why I bring this up, because obviously there's traffic here, right? And I think that if people come over, then, you know, there's an opportunity to build a community here. Now, this is a very large user base here. A lot of people using this site, and it's based on hashtags. So I set up my channel under the technology hashtag. And right now it's primarily just Stephen and myself. In fact, I'm going to go to that. Let me try to go to that page. So I'm going to try to put in hashtag, and I'll show you what that page looks like. So if I go to the technology hashtag page, so I just did a search and brought up the technology hashtag, and you'll see the two people live right now are me and Stephen Haywood. And then both of us happen to make it. They saw our streams and they put us on their best broadcasters in technology. And there's a bunch of other people here, including our friend Alfredo, Beauty Bubble. We recognize Eileen, a lot of people from Blab coming over here. Okay. And I think there's some opportunity here to create community, right? You know, and it's not necessarily like we totally understand that, Mark. I mean, you're probably not. I mean, although you talk a lot about college football, so you might have some younger viewers come in. I mean, I'm talking about video production. We're talking about video production on our show. Steven's talking about technology and video production. You know, I'm not sure if the 13 to 18-year-old demo is going to be our audience. Certainly, you know, I mean, they're going to come in and watch for a little bit, but you know, certainly if you can help there. But again, there's no saying that you can't come in and create your own community. You know, just like Blab started from zero, and people came in there and created communities. So I think that's an important thing to look at here. I mean, to me, the most attractive part of this whole platform is stability, and also all the different features you have, and the interface here. So it's very easy to go live. I will say, Mark, that Steve and I have experimented with this platform, and since we go live 24/7, I don't think that's the intended use of this platform, because I find that we get timed out after about 12 hours. but it's very easy to just restart your stream and just go in there, restart it, and you're off and running again. So I think this is made for individual shows, so we're kind of hacking it in a way. But I think we've both been pretty pleased as far as the stability of the platform itself, and it's pretty rock solid. I'm playing it right now. You see it in the hashtag here, and right now, Steven is number one in technology, and his video is playing in a little box there on the side, as you can see on the page there. So it's pretty stable. I'm really happy with it. Mark, I know you're seeing this for the first time, but initial impressions.
Well, it's exciting because just from the standpoint of the demographic, so if you can get some people hooked, you might have some lifetime fans there. So that's the first thing that jumps out to me, that like you and Steven, it's probably not my ideal demographic, although I would say most of the people that provide most of the engagement with my content are in their 20s. So it's not that very, it's not an older audience with my content for the most part, at least the people that respond to it, the people that respond and engage in the content. So it might not be a huge stretch for me to dive down into the 13 to 21 age range. So that's what catches my eye without knowing the ins and outs of the application, just the demographic potential.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm watching the chat here, and Steven says, did he just say Steven is number one in technology? Yes, I did. I did say that. That you can quote me on that, Steven. You are number one. You know that. You're number one in technology. Of course you are. But anyways, yeah, I mean, this is, again, I think the lesson here with you now is don't judge a book by its cover. I think that if you're looking for a solid platform to experiment on, this might be it. Maybe, I mean, it could be it. I mean, that's the big one for me, is its stability, I think is huge here. So anyway, so we talked about two here, Google Hangouts and YouNow. And we're going to get to a third one here, one that came up in the chat just recently, and this is called Fire Talk. Many of you might be familiar with this platform. And I'm reading the chat here. It's Brad. Are you seeing the chat there, Mark? With Big Brad?
Oh, I'm looking at it right now. I've chimed in a couple times.
He's talking about your co-host there. So Macy. But anyways, I try not to.
Yeah, the sex appeal to that show is I bring that. That was always my thought.
Exactly. So anyway, so Fire Talk. There's so many of them. I'm getting them all confused. So this is a very interesting platform. Mark, I'm not sure if you know about this one as well. And I see a lot of people from Blab are already being featured here, which is nice. Mark, are you familiar with Fire Talk at all? Is this the first time you've seen it?
I've only heard about it, so I know the name. I'm familiar with, that it's a media platform. That's about the extent of it.
Okay. So the interesting thing about Fire Talk, what are some of the upsides with Fire Talk? Well, you can broadcast from your desktop with your webcam and your microphone. And it's I believe it's WebRTC. So you can actually bring another person on. So you can have up to 2 people on screen at once. No special equipment needed. The other big thing for me, again, is, well, it has a mobile app. I'll certainly say that. So all these have mobile apps, and you can certainly broadcast from your mobile device as well. Has a live text chat. Now, a big one for me is RTMP, and this one has it. This has RTMP, so you can go direct if you have professional gear or if you have professional video switching software. You can produce your show internally and go direct, which is another very useful feature. Now, I will say that it's not really set up for 24/7 streaming, so if you had that in mind, this is probably not the platform to do it on, but you can do it on an event basis to go direct. The other good thing is it records. It records, I think it records when you come in WebRTC. I don't think it records via RTMP. And that's not really a big deal because normally if you're doing that, you're probably going to be recording it locally anyways if you're at that level. But if you're going in via webcam and microphone, it records it directly to their service. You can also download your recordings for repurposing, which is also a very handy feature. The other really cool thing is two other really cool things about this platform that I see. And again, I don't use it currently. I've used it in the past. So I'm just doing from my own observations. I know there's some people in the chat that use it. I know Durham Skywriter is all over it, and she's having some success with it as well. But two other things that are really good about this platform. One, you can create events. You can create both free and paid events, or subscriber-only events. And that could be good if you have a business, if you're charging for your content. It gives you that option to kind of put a gate on there and only allow people in that either pay to see your event or subscribe to your channel. So that's a handy feature. The other one is this is much more like a channel. So you can actually set up your channel. In fact, I'm going to go to my channel here just to give you a sense of what's going on here. So I'm not live right now on Fire Talk, but I do have a YouTube playlist. And you'll notice it's playing right now. You'll see it in the window there. And what I did was I upload all our BTS live shows to YouTube, and I actually create a special playlist just for Fire Talk, and then I just load it. I basically just put the playlist URL into Fire Talk, and what it does is it just plays it in order in real time. So when you're not live, it just comes on. And Alfredo just subscribed to my channel. Thank you, Alfredo. See, you can that proves that it's live. But it's playing live. So this is much more like a, and Alfredo sent me a gift. Thank you very much, Alfredo. I appreciate that. But this is much more like a TV channel. So much like how myself and Steve and a few others, we actually set up our networks and we broadcast live streaming direct from our home bases, and we're streaming actually live. This is not doing that. And most people don't have that equipment, but if you want something similar, this could be something for you. So if you do your past shows, and if you're not live on Fire Talk, but if you want to promote your channel, so my channel is firetalk.com/Marty McPadden. And if that's your platform of choice, then you can send it out there and say, oh, go to my channel, and if I'm not live, you'll see my replays. So that's what it's doing right here. And it even tells you what's coming up next on the bottom there, a little lower third there automatically. It has a chat. Now, the chat is live all the time. So if you want to go in here, even when you're not live, you can interact. And you can see Michael Murray sent me a gift, and Alfredo sent me a gift. They just did it right now, and I can see that here. And I can go in there. In fact, I'm going to go in there now and say, thank you, guys. And you can see I just responded there. And so this is kind of cool, and it has your profile on the side there on the left-hand side. So, Mark, is this the first time you've seen Fire Talk? I know in the chat, I know Durham Skywriter, Pat, I know you use it, and I think you like it a lot. Love having Fire Talk channel. So, Pat in Durham Skywriter in the chat is saying, I love having a Fire Talk channel. Yeah, it's great for people who want a kind of a one-stop shop and to have that available to them without having a lot of equipment. Mark, is this something you think that would appeal to yourself and something that you might want to check out? So
what I would want to know about any of these platforms is what the current user base looks like demographically and in regards to numbers, because I kind of do what I do, and I know that I should look for other forms of content to go into. Just trying to keep up with what I do right now. I would love to see if that would be adaptable to any of these platforms that I'm unfamiliar with.
Yeah, and I think the demographic here is not as young. And I think all these streaming platforms are going to skew young anyways overall. But this is much more of a varied demographic, I think. In fact, you'll notice on the homepage here, you have TYT, which is the Young Turks. And that is actually a very popular YouTube channel. It's a political channel. They do, it's mainly on the liberal side. But they've been around for a number of years. They do a very professional production job. And they're on here, I think, I'm not sure if they're showing up on the homepage or not, but I know that a couple other big names are on here. I think that Fire Talk is trying to attract them, and some of the downsides. Stephen Haywood in the chat is definitely making a good point. The discoverability is not great on Fire Talk. There really is no community. Again, comparing to Blab, it's very difficult to find things unless you know what you're looking for. You can certainly do a search, but it's really no community there. And Stephen's right. That's what's terrible. So again, that's a big compromise there as far as people trying to build community, or coming into a platform maybe with a built-in audience, and it really doesn't have that. It's really a platform that you're gonna have to bring your own audience to. And again, that's kind of a downside. And for me, another downside, no 24/7 streaming. That kind of, for me, I think that's got to be something that is available in my workflow to be positive. So, and Stephen Go, you get 5 to 10 viewers. It's terrible. TMZ's on there. Thank you. Someone put in the chat TMZ's on there, and that was the one I was thinking of. That's, for those of you familiar with that website, that's a gossip, kind of a Hollywood gossip website. They have a TV show. They're kind of mainstream media there as far as the Hollywood scene goes. So they're on there. So they're trying to attract different people. But again, you're going to probably have to bring your own audience there to have any value. But it is kind of all on one platform, so we kind of present it to you there. So, Mark, let's go on to the next one here. And this is a new one that I think that a lot of people will, and I know you have never heard of this. I found out about this yesterday. So I decided to put it in the show, and some of the people in the chat were there, and I think they know about this. This is a new platform called Huzzah. These names get me. I think they run out of names after a while, So this is called Huzzah, and the big thing with this platform, in fact, I'll sign in a second, is it's new. You can broadcast from your desktop, but it's probably the most Blab-like platform that I've come across as far as a public platform. So you can have up to 4 people on screen. Looks very much like Blab with the 4 squares. The other really interesting thing with this, now this is getting into monetization. So you'll notice down here, I don't know if you can see it, it says sign up with Patreon. And for those of you who don't know what Patreon is a service that basically is maybe like a Kickstarter for video or for creatives, where you can have people sign up and pay you money to broadcast. So you can kind of create a community there. So and I'm not sure if you heard of this, Mark, Patreon, but it's a community where you can sign up and create a community over there. People pledge money either on a weekly basis, one-time basis, and they become your patrons. And a lot of creators, and it's a way for creators to earn money based on their content. So if you have valuable content, and you think it's valuable and people are getting a lot out of it, and I know a lot of people with various shows want to kind of give back, they're getting something out of it. So it's kind of a marketplace to provide that. And then with your patrons, what you can do is you can create custom content for them as kind of a benefit, sort of like Kickstarter, but an ongoing Kickstarter type of thing. So that's interesting. So they've got some monetization there. Some of the other features here, and again, this is brand new, so I'm just looking at this, and Knight Rider Walter is very, very right. One of the downsides of this service, it is a paid service. In fact, I'm going to go down to the very bottom here. To this section, you'll see there is a free tier, so you can get on here for free, but you'll notice, and it might be too small for you to read, but you'll notice the very first benefit under the free is up to 50 live viewers. so if you go over 50 viewers, you're gonna have to cough up some cash to keep going. All right, I will say this, guys, we talk a lot about paid platforms. We talk a lot about free versus paid. I use a couple different paid solutions to get all my stuff broadcast, to get this show on multiple platforms. Normally, and including Wirecast, including a lot of this stuff, and a lot of the stuff is you're gonna you get what you pay for. So it's an interesting model that this company is taking. So maybe there's got to be a balance between paid and advertising, and I think people are looking for everything and they don't want to pay for anything, you know. So it's an interesting model that they're taking. So if it's a question where you're paying for it but you're getting stability, so it could be something that could be valuable there. But again, this is brand new. I don't have any experience with it. The other two levels here, creator, and it looks like you have up to 150 viewers in creative. You can create private events. You can have multiple broadcasters come on, and I'm not sure if that's has to do with multiple people on the screen. I'm not quite sure on that. You can embed at the paid level, so that's $40 a month to get all that. And then you have a professional level at $200 a month, which includes up to 3,000 live viewers, priority support, custom branding, so you get white label. You can have your own domain, you get advanced analytics, and that's mainly for business. So it's an interesting conundrum here as far as paid versus free, right? The other things I want to point out as far as benefits on this is it does record your stream for later rear, and you can sell merchandise. Let's see if I can find that. I'm not sure if I can find that. See, here it is right here. So you can make money, you can sell merchandise. You can see that this picture here, this guy who's broadcasting is showing off t-shirts. And you can integrate, you know, a marketplace or a store right within your broadcast. So if you have something that you want to sell, that's another it's another integration here. So it's an interesting take here, Mark, as far as this new platform that we came across. And again, they've chosen to take the paid model route, you know. So is this, you as a broadcaster, and I'm going to look to the chat here too to get their opinion on this, but, you know, I mean, do you see yourself be willing to pay for something like that? Now the first paid tier is $40 a month. Or would you be comfortable, would you be content with more of the free platforms that we already went through?
Okay, so I've got a storage of comments and questions here for you, Marty. In regards to paid content, I would have to have a firm grip on whether this was going to pay off for me. I can't imagine that this platform is successful enough and reaches enough people for that to pay off unless I had a very specific niche item, but creating content and having that pay off for me versus if I had a product like that last person that you showed where they have a product where they can get immediate payback for product sales, then it might be worth it. But from a content standpoint, I just can't imagine. So, Marty, in looking through these various platforms, the one item I like about Blab in regards to, you know, we talk engagement and all that, we know about the community, but from the aspect of the functionality of the content and placing it on other platforms, so you get the audio file, you get the video file in email form back from Blab in a pretty timely manner, unless it's kind of screwed up as it has been from time to time. But if it's working, you get it right back and you're able to produce a podcast or put it on whatever platform you need to. And for me, that's YouTube is probably number one priority. Would I be able to do, or somebody like me be able to do that with these other platforms, use the same content on multiple platforms and take what was created on one of these platforms and take it to YouTube?
The short answer is yes. On several of them. So you got the Google Hangouts solution. You're certainly able to do that. You're able to download actually any of your YouTube videos that you broadcast live or anything that you post. You can actually download an MP4 version of the video and you can edit that. You can repost it anywhere you want. I know with Fire Talk you can download your content. So if you're broadcasting directly to Fire Talk through your webcam, it'll actually record that and it provides either for playback directly from the platform, or you can download it for either editing or repurposing. Huzzah, I believe you can. I'm not sure on Huzzah. I'll hold off on that. I'm not quite sure on a Huzzah. And the other one we talked about, YouNow. You can't. Well, YouNow. You know, it's funny because I thought you could download YouNow. I don't think you can. In checking it, I was checking it out before our show today. And early on, I was under the impression you can download it. I think you can share it to various platforms. You can share it out to YouTube or Twitter, but I don't think you can download. So I think your two choices are either Fire Talk or Google Hangouts / YouTube for that. Huzzah, again, I'm not too sure about that. So yeah, I think that's a big item. We talk a lot about owning your content, right, and having a backup. I do want to address one comment, Steven's comment in the chat room here. And he makes a very good point, and I know he's kind of being a little sarcastic, but he goes, Marty, I want it for free. I'm a broadcaster and have a business, but I don't want to pay for any services. I expect everyone to give it to me and do everything for me, even though I don't have an audience. I'm only big in my own mind. And I know Steven's being a little sarcastic there, but he actually brings up a real good point. I think he's trying to bring up a very good point here as far as, we see this a lot on Blab, right? And I know everyone's scrambling for a new platform. And it's interesting because I've seen other shows where people have done similar shows like we're doing today, where they're going through some of these new platforms. And what's interesting in the comments is I'm seeing all the downsides. And these are coming from people that want free. And again, I think, and I think Mark will back me up on this. It's always a series of compromises, even at the highest levels, right, Mark? When you're at the network level, and you're producing a show or getting an event ready, it's always a series of compromises. Whenever you do, especially at our level, I mean, you got to pick out what's most important. It's not always going to be if you had your choice. I think if everyone had their choice that are on Blab, they would want to have 80 billion people in the chat at one time on screen. They want unlimited, all right? They want it all recorded in high definition, 1080p, perfect sound. They want to be able to push one button. They want to be able to download their content, audio and video separated for free, to be able to repurpose, and they want an active chat room. They want it all in real time, so no delay. What else am I missing here? They always want it to work, and they don't want to pay anything. I mean, it's just not possible. And I think you just got to pick your poison and have your compromise. And Steven raises a really good point there in the comments. It's like, you got to pay for stuff, I mean,
so the only point I was trying to make, and that's completely right, the criticism that these platforms get by people like myself who want everything in the world and don't want to pay for anything, that are creating content, is crazy, because just consider what is being, it's like the joke about complaining that it costs 32 cents to send a letter across the country. So in this case, my only point that I was making about paying $20 or $40 for a platform is not the criticism that I need paid services here, but looking into what that specific provider is delivering in terms of an audience, in terms of applications, in terms of what I want to do, and whether my ambitions and aspirations fit to that platform and if they can deliver. Just making those considerations.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm looking at the comments are great, guys. Thanks, and I want to thank everyone for coming over to our chat room, the RC chat room. I know that I kind of sprung this on you guys late, and I put it in Blab. And again, the reason why I even set up the Blab show, we started this on Blab, and we have great respect for the platform, what they tried to do. They are pivoting. But a lot of our community came from there, and again, just for the sake of a good experience, and we're trying to streamline this experience. So I want to thank everyone for coming over here. You've made it a great show, and we really appreciate that. Some of the comments there are interesting, and I'm just reading them here. Someone mentioned Spreecast. I think Tommy mentioned Spreecast. That's another good platform. We didn't choose to go over it today. But that's something I think we can get into maybe in a future show. And he brings up another point, and that's a paid platform. I think there's a free tier and a paid tier, much like Huzzah with their model. Spreecast has been around for a while, so it might be something worth looking at. But again, I think the theme here is a lot of this stuff is to get the really good quality production and stability, there's probably going to have to be some cash outlaid at some point, certainly. And I'm just looking at the rest of the go ahead, Mark.
Hey, Marty, if I can make one comment
Sure.
that I need to run, because
Sure.
then I've got a bunch of dominoes that fall the rest of the afternoon.
No problem.
I would think that a lot of people are in my position as a content creator, that YouTube is the place to be, other than your own platform, the place to be for recorded content. We know the issues, or not necessarily issues, but the limitations of Google Hangouts in delivering a live audience. So I am looking for a place, and I thought I may have had it with Blab, but with the inconsistency and unreliability of the platform from a technical and operational standpoint, and now losing viewership and losing support, it's obviously not the answer. But a live platform that's going to deliver a live audience that I can then transfer that content to YouTube and deliver it there in recorded fashion, that's the first step of a perfect marriage in regards to the live content and then delivering the recorded content later.
Oh, I absolutely, I totally agree. And I just want to address one quick comment before you go, Mark. Tommy in the chat brings up a very good point. He goes, we're talking about getting everything for free. I'm a hobbyist, not a professional. And if I were to become a professional, then I would think about investing more in stable platforms. But until then, I'm not making any money. So yeah, I want free. And again, we're not talking about the people that are doing it for fun, not looking to make money. They're not in business. They're not, professional like that. I know, Mark, I know you have to run. You can take off if you need to. I know.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Mark. I'm gonna just wrap up the show here. Thanks a lot, Mark. Anyways, but Tommy brings up a good point with that, and yeah, we're not talking about the hobbyist at all, or the non-professional. I think that's we got to make that point. We're talking about, in fact, especially when Stephen and I get on these different platforms and talk about this, we're talking about people that have a business, that want to do it professionally. And then you hear the complaining that, oh, why can't I get good quality, or this or that, or why do I have to pay? Those are the people we're talking about. But for the hobbyists, that's what's great about this stuff, is that there are plenty of free platforms. There are some compromises, but as long as you're reasonable, and I think Tommy's definitely a reasonable guy. I think he's got the right frame of mind with this, is he realizes that, okay, if I'm getting it for free, then I'm going to have to play by the rules. I'm going to take what I can get, and I'm going to have fun with it, and that's a great way to get started. And, and just talking about Blab for a moment, we've talked about this, at length. The great thing about Blab, besides the community, which they knocked out of the park, especially in the beginning, is they made it real easy to get started. We talked about this in the past. That's a roadblock for many people, just getting started. And that's what made it possible for a lot of people just to get started and see, oh, this is a lot of fun. I can actually create video pretty easily, and then the idea is to evolve, and go from there. Now, for a lot of people, that Blab and what that offers is plenty. Either they're looking to do a very simple show, have some recording online, be able to download the content, and that's plenty. They're not looking for fancy graphics or camera switching and all that stuff. They're looking for a very simple platform to maybe do an interview and have a discussion. The other thing that Blab does well is it's just a video chat. If you want to get on with friends and talk, and that's great. Again, there's some stability issues that, if you're doing it professionally, I think that's kind of a a no-go there, at least for me. But yeah, make sure that everyone understands that we're talking about, when we talk about paying for stuff, we're talking about the business professional user. That, and I've seen people supposedly in business and professional complain that, oh, it should be free. It's like, well, you can use the free solutions, just don't expect it to be at a high level. It's just not going to be there. It takes a lot of development. But if you're a hobbyist, absolutely. I mean, it gets you started. So, anyways, Podcast Bob just commented, maybe the balance is educating people about professional quality. Everyone has an HD camera in their pocket these days, so getting them to understand the benefits using professional video or photographer is very, very difficult. It's all about education. Yeah, Podcast Bob, that's a really good comment. And that's a struggle that that's a struggle we fight every day. I do this for a living. It's part of my business. I actually produce live video for clients, either remotely, like I did with Mark. I'll bring in remote guests and I'll actually switch it here and distribute it out. Or I'll come on live as part of the show and I'll do it that way, or I'll go on location and do it. I think, Stephen Haywood and I have had this discussion in the past where I think a lot of people don't understand the nature of this stuff where, can you get, I think that people confuse buying or downloading an app with, being able to do it at a high level or being able to do it at all. And I think the analogy that really illustrates that is for those of you that are aware of Photoshop is a really good photo and image manipulation app from Adobe. It's been around a long time. And it's a very sophisticated program. And I think there are people out there that think, oh, I need to do graphics. I'll just get Photoshop, I'll download it, and I'm a graphics expert. And it's just not the case, I mean, you might have people to be able to do some minor things with it, but to really use that tool correctly and really well and to get the full benefit out of it, there's a learning curve. You got to learn. And then not only learn the tool, but do you have the design sense and the talent and the skill on the design side, to be able to put together a design, And again, there are free tools out there in graphic design. There's Canva. There's, I think, Buffer, which is a social media scheduling tool. They have a tool called Pablo. Adobe just released a tool called Spark. And these are all free online tools that you can create really nice, simple-looking graphics with photos and videos and things. And again, I think people see these apps and go, oh, this is great. And they're very simple. And you can get some decent results. You still have to have a little bit of a design sense. But there's a difference there. And Stephen and I talk about this. If I have I have a pretty sophisticated setup here. Stephen even has a more sophisticated setup, and we often say if we brought someone into our studio, had them sit down, all the right tools, and if they have no experience with it, it's just a lot of buttons. There's really there's no connection there. So I think that's important. That's the difference. Simplicity, like off your phone. Everyone has one of these in their pockets. They're they're high quality video, and even with the phone. I mean, to follow up on Bob's comment, you can give a professional photographer one of these, and just an average guy who's really doesn't know anything about photography one of these. Send them out, have them take the same exact picture. Whose picture do you think is going to be much better? They both have the same tool. Who's gonna have a better image? Who's gonna have a better result? Right? The professional. I mean, let's face it. That's the part that people forget. It takes practice. Can you get there? Absolutely, you can get there. But we talk to people all the time. That's the fun part about doing this is you got to work at it. You got to work at it, and it's like it's not. There's no quick start guide to high level production. But if you work at it, you can definitely get there. So anyway, so that's my soapbox for today. Podcast Bob says that's what people need to understand is they're paying for talent. They're paying for talent, skill, experience, and results. The end user is used to watching rubbish YouTube material, then there's no hope or reason for them to improve their own standards. Bob makes an excellent point. Perfect way to end the show is on that. And that's the struggle for a lot of us, and I think that I'm a little less concerned about that now. I think when live streaming really got a foothold, kind of the latest wave of it last year, a year ago, March, when apps like Periscope and Meerkat came out for the phone, I think a lot of people, it was new shiny objects. A lot of people got their phones out, started streaming. It was a novelty, and I think that the level of quality, the demand wasn't there because everyone was so enamored with, oh, what's this new toy? I can stream right from my phone. And it was all about getting that live stream to air and doing it from your mobile device. I think what you're going to see, and I think that the professionals will back me up on this, and you saw it with YouTube, is quality will always win out long term. Is there a use case for someone streaming from their phone? And maybe even incorporating that into a professional production? Absolutely there is. especially if you're in a location where you can't get a crew and you happen to be there. Everyone has basically a video camera in their pocket, a streaming device in their pocket. And if that's the best video available, then that's worth its weight in gold. But usually in a situation where you can have a setup with a studio or a location, then Tommy, then that's a better setup, right? And I think what you're seeing with live streaming, and I'm not even sure if I like that term, live streaming. It's kind of redundant. But what you're going to see is, how do you get better? How do you stand out? Well, that's pretty obvious. It's quality content and quality of presentation, both. And this idea that the presentation doesn't count, okay, you can go with that, but I highly recommend that you work on both if you're serious about your content creation. Doesn't have to be great out of the gate. I think it's far more important to start, but you always want to be working on it. Always want to be getting better. If you want to be at the top of your game, if you want to really stand out, I think that's very, very important. I think you'll see that. Guys, thank you very much for I really appreciate you guys coming over to btslive.com, coming into the RSC chat. We're trying to get people to come over here. It's a heck of a lot easier to watch in one chat. We can interact here. And Bob, Podcast Bob, I said, no, I don't agree. Each one of us works to their own standards. I wouldn't drop mine to suit anyone. I would want to work. Yeah, and that's a great. I love Podcast Bob. I'm not sure who you are, but you're dropping some great comments here, and I completely agree. I'm not sure who you're disagreeing with, but yeah, I mean, and Steven the Tech Buzz says, but Bob, they want rubbish. Everyone is doing good stuff, are expected to dumb down the production. Yeah, I mean, that's what they're talking about here. This is another thing that kind of gets to us, is that don't expect people that are doing high level to dumb down their production to make other people feel good. I'm just being blunt and direct, I mean, what people should be doing is aspiring, and I have a long way to go. I'm always learning. I'm always striving. I got big plans. I got big goals. I want to get better and better. I think Stephen Haywood would even say the same thing. I don't think he's done. He's always looking to improve, and I think we're considered people that are doing it at a pretty high level. And the way we look at our own stuff is we say, man, we got a long way to go. But it doesn't mean that people that are just starting out are bad or doing a bad job. No. They're doing a great job because they're starting. They're at least making the effort. And again, you just want to push yourself. You just want to, say, oh, use what we're doing as a goal, and keep going. And, realize also that you're, start with what you have. We talk about that, right? Start with what you have currently and learn the techniques. I think a lot of the part is learning the techniques, learning how to do this. It's beyond the equipment. A lot of it is technique, workflow, process. I know that when Steven and I put together our shows, there's a lot of thought process that goes into how our graphics lay on the screen. What our thought process as far as the show. We're both producing and hosting the show. So I'm looking at my buttons here, and how making sure everything's set up, and I can go to each piece as smoothly as I can. That's what you're thinking about. So again, it's a process. So, but I want to thank everyone for coming over to the IRC chat. You guys are fantastic. And Podcast Bob, journey of 1,000,000 miles just starts with one step. That's a great way to end this. That's a great saying. Absolutely right. You take one step, and you take another, and you take another, and you take another. And then before you know it, a year goes by, and you look back and say, wow, look how far I've come. And then you keep going, and that is so, so true. So thanks, Durham. Thanks, Walter, Tommy. Tommy's our resident starts a roadmap. Thanks, everyone, for coming by. This has been BTS Live. We will be back next week with another edition. We are planning to get some more interviews for you guys. I know we had Kelly Rippin on last night, but we know several people in the business, and we want to get some more of those interviews on for you guys as well. But thanks a lot for coming, and we'll see you again next week on btslive.com. Thanks a lot, everyone.